Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do something totally different that I haven't done before and haven't done since the last time I demonstrated this was when I was a member of a sugarcraft club. So what I'm going to do today is to do a gladiolus. Can't do this in a smaller version, it has to be done in a full-size version, but it can be used on a cake if you do the right thing. Last time I did it on a teardrop shaped cake. So anyway, I'll take you down to my board now. Right, I have actually done one of the flowers to go in onto the stem, which is this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do different stages of flower as they come up your stem. Now what you need to do, I'm not going to do this properly because it takes a long time to do it all together. But what you would do is to get the strongest wire that you've got, which in my case was an 18 gauge wire, and what I did was I put 3 of these together. I'm just going to do it on one wire, but what you need to do is to tape 3 of these together because you need a very strong stem, because it's going to be a lot more weight on than a normal flower. So basically what you do is get your full width tape. Whoops, I'll untangle it from here. Just dropped one of my brushes on the floor. So what you need to do is to tape your wire first of all. So we get that on and then tape that down. I'm only going to do it part way down because I'm just doing this as an example to what you need to do, because I've already done a stem here that I've got to that particular stage. I'm just going to take that off there for now. And to start off your gladiolus, we need some green paste. Now it's probably a good idea to do this in advance and let it set. I'm doing this with it fresh, so it's a little bit more fiddly. So and the cutters I'm going to use are these 2 cutters here, which are simple leaf cutters. If you haven't got these, as per usual, I'm putting templates on my website. So if you go to terrificcakedesign.uk, you'll find the templates are on there. So I'm going to start off with a small piece of paste, roll it into a ball, then you want it into a cone, and then pop your wire into it. With this, if you're using ordinary paste that's not particularly sticky, then you'll need to put a hook on the top. But I don't need to with this because this flexible paste is very sticky and does tend to stay put. But once you get all your other pieces on, it will hold it in place anyway. So I'm just going to thin it down a little bit underneath there. So that's your cone. So what, as I say, what I would do is I would let that dry. Then just pop that to one side for a minute, and I'm going to use these simple leaf cutters here. Need a bit of white fat on my board here. I'm only going to do a couple of rows of these just to give you an idea. So I'm only using a small piece of paste here. And you can roll it quite thin for this job. Then I'm going to cut out 4 of these. Got one stuck in there. take them out there. And I think I did about, I'm just trying to think, what did I do? With the small ones I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers, and then I went on to the larger one, which is that one. I've done about 3 layers there of those. So basically what you're going to do all the way down is what I'm going to do with the first layer here. So I'll get these onto my pad. And then thin your edges. Don't forget to roll. If you're using ordinary flour paste, it doesn't matter. I mean, the last time I did it, I used ordinary flour paste because this hadn't even been thought of then. But this is so much better because in a lot of cases, like when you come to do your flowers, even when you've let it set, you can still bend it and manoeuvre it about, which in sugarcraft is a godsend. Because if something gets squashed or whatever, you can reshape it, which with normal flour paste you can't do that. Right, so I've thinned all the edges of those. So the next thing that you need now is you need some corn husk. If you've already done this, because I've talked about this before in previous videos, this makes the job an awful lot easier when it comes to... I'm just going to turn those, take those off of there. I'm going to turn it over. Oh God, that looks a bit manky on that side. I don't usually use that side, but I'm using this side so you can see what I'm doing. I'll just move those out of the way. So if you put your bract into place and then just fold that over like that and give that a good press, that gives you your veining on both sides on those. So if you just remember to put it on one side so you can fold it over like that. And it doesn't matter which way up you have it then, because you won't have a right or a wrong side on it. If you've got 2 pieces of corn husk, then it's a bit easier, but I couldn't find... I have a load of it around somewhere, but I've no idea what I've done with it. I'm doing my usual thing. I'm putting it down to my age. When you get to my age, you start forgetting things. And it's got nothing to do with dementia, it's to do with getting old. Or, in my case, it might be an overload of information, because I know so much about sugarcraft and flowers and things like that. You probably get to a point where you can't get any more information in. So that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. Right, so, get your glue. And for the first 2, you're going to glue all over. Just pick that up onto my fingers, and I'm going to bring that right up to the top there and wrap that round. This is why I say it's probably better if you let this dry before you start putting these pieces on, and then turn it round, and then your other one goes on facing it like that. Bring that round, bring that right up to the top, tuck it all in. Just spend a bit of time, just slide that down a bit. I've just got that a little bit higher. This is moving around a bit, that's why I say it's better if you let that dry first. Then just pop that down, and then your next 2, and you're going to do this all the way down until you get to the point where you're going to start putting your first partly open flower in, which I'll come on to in a bit. Then what you do then is you come slightly lower down like that, and that's going to wrap around your wire. Bring one side in, then the other side. I've come a little bit too low down with that. Just bear with me a second while I just readjust that. Put that up there. That's it. So that's going to go around like that. And then your next one goes in opposite again at the same level like that, and bring that round. Now you could make your top a little bit smaller so that it wraps around, for an example, just to start you off. And then what you do then is you keep on coming down until you get to where you start putting your flowers in, and then you put that to one side to dry. So as I say, I've already done one here where I've gone all the way down with these. You could probably get these in a little bit tighter if you wanted to. So we'll do away with that green for now, and go on to the colour that I've used for the petals, which I've used pink. And what I've done is I've coloured this with I think it's dusky pink, is it? Hang on, just bear with me a second, I'll just have a look at the colour that I've used. Yes, it's dusky pink from Sugar Flare that I've used. And what it is, if you haven't got that, just use whatever you would normally use for a pink, probably a burgundy or something like that, and just add a tiny little bit of purple into it, and I mean a tiny bit. Right, so we'll just get that worked. Now these are the cutters that I've used. These were specially made for me, so you can't buy these commercially. I don't know whether anybody does, but as per usual, as I said earlier, I'll put the templates of all these on my website, and then you can go on there and get the templates. I mean, if you know anybody that makes cutters, you can always take them to them and ask them to make them up if you want to go down that road. But with the templates, you don't need the cutters, because as I've shown in previous videos, you can make templates from the actual leaves, get a flower, take it apart, and do it that way, which would be a bit impossible at this time because obviously there aren't any gladioli about. I don't know whether you can get them, whether they import them or not. I've never seen any this early in the year, but because we're now in January, so most flowers that we get here in the UK are all imported anyway, because there isn't anywhere apart from those that have got covered areas that can grow certain types of flowers. Get it reasonably thin, then you need to, obviously you want your ridges then, so whichever method you're using for doing your ridges, for speed I use this. You can get these online if you have a look on from Sugarcraft Specialists. There are a few different versions about. Unfortunately the firm that I got these from is no longer in existence. But I'm sure whoever it was that made them for them will make for other people. Right, so what you need is 3 of this wide one. Actually, if you've got the large lily petals, you can use them because these are the same shape as the lily petals. So you'd need 3 of the wide one. I'm only going to do 1 of each for this section. So 3 of the wide ones, 2 of the narrow ones. As I say, I'm going to put all this, what I'll do is on the templates I'll put in each of the petals, which I've done with some of them, how many of those particular petals you need per flower. So you need 2 of those, 3 of the wide ones, and then the smaller one you need 3 of these. Just for this experiment I'm just doing 1 of each, because I've already got my petals already made and dried. Then you need 26 gauge wires for these. Get it on between your finger and your thumb, twist your wire into the bottom and then feel it up your petal, and you need to go as far up your petal as you can. Probably could have done with that being a bit thicker, my wire's showing through that because I've gone a bit thin with my paste. Now you don't need to thin your edges on these because we're going to go around the edge with your silk veining tool when we've done these. So I'm going to go straight into the veiner. If you haven't got a veiner, you can get these on eBay. There is somebody on there that sells Alderval veiners, and this is an Alderval veiner. So if you go on there and see if you can get hold of one. So your petal goes into there like that. I'm not worried so much about my wire showing on this because I'm not using this anyway. Get your veiner on top, give it a press. You could probably use a lily veiner as well. If you've got a lily veiner, you could use that. And then what you need to do then with your silk veining tool is start from about 2/3 of the way up, and with your veining tool at an angle like that, go around the edge and frill the edges. Now some Gladiolus are more, some of the newer ones are very frilly, so it's up to you depending on which version you're going to do. So if you go online you can see loads of pictures of Gladiolus to pick whatever colour you're going to get, because there's so many different colour combinations. So there we are, that's the top part of it done. So what we need to do now is get your finger up, get your wire on and bend it down so it's got a curve on it like that, and bring it up like that, and then if I get my, just move that out of the way, and then if you get your petals on the edge of your foam, pop it down in like that so it curves over the edge of your foam like that, and leave that to set or dry. We call it drying, but these still stay flexible when you've done, so you know it does make life an awful lot easier. So you need to do that the same with all of these. Now I'm just going to get rid of these out of the way. I'm just going to do that one petal because it makes my video so long doing all the bits and pieces. So I need to move on and get on to the next stage. Just pop that away in with my other paste. So the next thing we need to do is to make some stamens. Now it doesn't matter what colour paste you use. I'm just going to get some of this, some white out. I only need a tiny little bit, so I'm just going to take a little bit off like that. Now that's probably too big, so what you can do is cut that in half. So about the size of a small petit pois or a small garden pea. Then roll that into, oops, that went flying on the floor. Roll that into a ball. Good job I had another piece there, like that. And then what you need then is the thinnest wire that you've got. So a 30 or a 32, 33 if you can get hold of them. They are difficult to get hold of. I'm using a 33 here because I did happen to manage to get hold of some, but whether I'll be able to get any more is a different matter. It's not a wire that's widely used. Pop your end of your stamen on and then just shape that. Forget my yellow pad so you can see what I've done on there. like that, and then put those to one side to dry. So I'm just going to pop that down there for now. And then you want your centre. So I'm using another, I've just used a 26 gauge wire for this. So the centre is like this. It's like 3 prongs. I don't know whether you can see that on camera or not. If I put it against my hand, it's like 3 prongs on there. So I need some light green tape. That'll probably just about do. Now what I've used for doing that is some cottons from Stamens. When I find what I've done with them, there should be some under here. No, they've gone. Right. So what I've done is I've got some fine Stamens here. And what I've done is I've just get right to the top like that, and then just cut off the little tops off there. Do that on the other side, on the other end, like that, and then cut them in half. Like that. Now I only want 3 of those, so that's 1.5 stamens. I mean, you're gonna, for a stem of these, you need at least 3 flowers, so you can probably get away without wasting any. So if you get them all together, get them all the same length. Now you can do this either way. Either start your stamens together, which sometimes is easier for a lot of people, to start your tape off round there. You're going to leave about probably about 1/4 of an inch to half an inch, depending on how long you want them to be. Hang on, just get those down there. Just get this tape started. On there. Roll that on. Then get your wire and put that in so it's just below the tape. Oops. There, that's it. And then just roll it on as you would do normally when you're putting your tape on your wire, and then go all the way down your wire. And then what you do is very carefully get hold of each of the stems. So if you get your nail in, and then just curve them out. And what I usually do is get in, and you might find it easy to use a pair of pliers, pair of tweezers to do this. Just give a bit of a curve on those so that they curve back like that. Then when you've done that, then we need to finish off your stamens. As I say, it's better off to let these dry a bit first. When I find where my pollen is. Yeah. No, it's wrong pollen, that one. I have got it here somewhere. When I find what I've done with it. Can't find it. So if I can find something to make it in, I'll make some pollen up while I'm here, just to show you how it's done. Got rid of a bit of paste out there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe this out. just to get rid of that bit of colour in there that's in the pot. What have I got in there? Oh, I've got some already made up. I don't need to do that. I found it. Right. I've got some brown pollen here. So what I'm going to do is, to make it a bit easier, I'm just going to put it into the lid, some of the pollen. And all this is, basically, we'll just put that back in there for now. All that is this. Either semolina or ground rice will do, either. So you've got your container. And we get some of the ground rice or semolina and put that into your container. This will just top this on. I'm not going to bother putting any more colour in because there's enough colour in there to do it. But you just put some brown colour in, or yellow colour in, or whatever colour pollen you want to do. Put your top on. Just going to get rid of this because I've spilt some here. Get rid of that out of the way. Here we are. And then, once you've got it in there, give your container a really good shake. Like that. Take your lid off. And there you've got your brown pollen in your container. And it's so much cheaper than buying it. So the next stage is, with your stamen, get your glue bottle. Get your stamen, dip it into the glue, like that. And then into your pollen, like that. And there you've got your stamen already made. So you can put that to one side to dry. Make sure you put your top back on your glue. I found the other day that I'd knocked a bottle of glue over in it, gone all over my top, so it makes a bit of a mess, and it's also a waste of glue as well. So, as I say, you've got all your petals made. I've got all my different sizes here. So you want 3 of each of these. I've already coloured 3 of each of these. So the next stage now is to colour these. Sorry, I was just adjusting a piece there that I'd left in overnight and it'd gone a bit flat. So I've already got some colour here. Move all my equipment out of the way. Move those if you don't want to get colour all over your veiners. Those veiners, by the way, if you do buy the Alderval ones, they do come in a set of 3 with 3 different sizes. You don't necessarily need 3 sizes, but it obviously comes in handy if you have got 3 sizes. So it's up to you how you use them. Now just find my brushes. I had a bit of a tidy up before I started with the video, and I've mixed my brushes up somewhere. So I put them all away, so to sort them out, there's one there. Ah, there they are. Found them. Right, so I've got 2 different brushes. Now the colours that I'm using here are Dusky Rose from Edible Arts, which is a similar colour to the paste that I've put into the paste. So what I'm going to do with that is do that one first. Put some onto your kitchen roll, off your brush, and then brush all over your petals. Like that. Right down to the bottom. Make sure you get right up to the top and get in the little nicks as well, because that's your base colour, and then also over the back. This paste, I picked up some white bits in this paste, so this tends to cover that up as well. I mean, obviously if you're doing a competition, then I wouldn't use that paste, I wouldn't use it, but I'm only using it for demonstration purposes, so waste not, want not. And then do all of your 3 petals. That one's gone a bit flat, so I can reshape this one once I've done the colouring. So again, reshape your petal, bend it over like that, so that's that done. And then the last one, which is the narrow one. Once we've done all these and then put the flowers together, then you can concentrate on the next part, because the next part, when you've done your main flowers at the bottom, the open ones, is to do the ones that are partly open, and those, I have actually made some up yesterday, but if it was normal flower paste I wouldn't have been able to do this, but I made them yesterday so that they're ready to go in, and they're still pliable, which if you're using ordinary flower paste, you can't do that. Right, so that's covered. That also wants reshaping and doing again, which I've done there. Different brush, so this time I'm using garnet for the edge of the petals. Quite a lot of the Gladioli are two-tone, or they've got deeper colour down in the base and that. You just decide whichever variety you're doing. This is why it's a good idea to start to study them online. And all I'm doing is just catching the edges and just giving a little bit of shading. You don't need a lot. And I'm not going right the way down, I'm going about 3/4 of the way down each of the petals, so that's what that looks like. So if you put that at the side of that, you can see the difference in the petals. So I just need some more colour on here. I don't need a lot because you're not doing a lot of it. Oh, I didn't do the back of that. Don't forget to do the backs as well. There we are, it's done. Perfect if you get a little bit of irregular pieces, or you come a bit too far in with some of it. It doesn't matter, because they're not, you don't want a line round the edge. It doesn't want to look like you've drawn a line round the edge. It wants to look natural, and in nature things don't grow evenly. I keep repeating myself saying this, but for anybody that's new just joining us, remember that nothing is perfect in nature. And you do get little blemishes and little bits missing and stuff like that. The bugs have been at eating the flowers or whatever, depending on what kind they are. I've stopped growing gladioli for the simple reason that I get them in. Is it gladiolus? No, sorry, it's lilies that I've stopped growing. Anybody who does gardening, I've stopped growing lilies for the simple reason that I keep getting lily bugs on them. I can't remember exactly what they're called. They look like a ladybird, but they've got no spots on them, and they are lethal on your lilies. And last few years I've not had any flowers off because the bugs have eaten everything on it. And the only way you can kill them off is by spraying with, you want a bug killer that's got neem oil in it. And I haven't been successful even with that, so I just stopped growing them. I thought if I stop growing them for a few years, maybe they'll go elsewhere, because they only come at the beginning of the growing season. when you do all this sort of thing, you get used to learning about all the things in nature. Yeah, I have done that one. There we are. So that's all the petals coloured. Oops. Nearly lost my brush then. Just pop those over there. Get rid of that. I'll put that away because I will need to come back to that at some point. Right. So the next stage is now, when you get to this, we need to make the partly open flowers as you come down. And I've done 2 different sizes. These are going to go in with the bracts round them. And that's just opening, and that one is next to the fully open stage, or part. You'll see what I mean when I get them together. It's difficult to describe without actually seeing what I'm doing. So what I need to do now is I need to cut some more bracts out, and I'm using the larger one of the cutters that I've got somewhere. Where are they? There it is. I'll just put a bit more white fat on my board here. Don't need any more wires for this, because all the other part is in the flowers themselves that you need to wire for the lower flowers that are fully open. But at this stage you don't. You can do this all fresh as you go along. So I've rolled that fairly thin. So I'm going to cut out 2, 3, how many have I got to put in? I've done about 3 of each size, so we want 2 for each 3, so 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That'll do 3 of the first flowers. This part I have to do as we go along, because there's no other way of doing it. I can't have, unless you were doing a load of gladioli. Right, onto the pad. Where's me? There it is, that'll do. And you want your medium ball tool. I'm just going to thin round the edges on these. Anybody that's used to working with cold porcelain will recognise this method, because that's what we do with cold porcelain. Because if you try to thin the edges like you do with normal flour paste, it sticks and tears. And it's a bit same with this flexible flour paste. Brilliant to work with, because obviously, as I've said before, because they don't go hard like normal flour paste, they don't get broken as easily. In fact, I don't think I've had any that I've made that have got broken. The ones that I did with normal flour paste before I started using this, some of those have got bits knocked off and bits here and there and chips out of them and all sorts. And if you drop them on the floor, well, It's like dropping china on the floor, isn't it? You've had it, you've lost a lot. And anybody that does cakes for a living as well, I mean, this is a lot easier, because when it comes to transporting cakes, you're not worrying about flowers getting broken. Because if you're delivering them yourself and you have to take a repair kit, it's very difficult, near impossible, to repair flowers if you've got pieces knocked off of them. Whereas with these, we don't have that problem. Right, so once you've done that, then I want my corn husk. What have I done with it? Oh, it's there. I'm going to do it with the widest part down here. It's a bit easier to fold it over then when you've got so many to do. Give them a good. A lot of this fine veining won't show up until you dust your flowers, so don't worry about it if you can't see much of it. The texture's there. If you're ever making bamboo with bamboo leaves on it, this is handy for doing bamboo as well, the corn husk. It's brilliant for that. In fact, for quite a lot of things actually, if you haven't got veiners. With the petals that I've just made on the flowers for the gladiolus, if you haven't got the veiners, then just use the silk veining tool like I've done with a lot of other flowers. You can get some veining into it that way. The only time you need to worry so much about having the proper veiners and things like that is if you're going for competitions. And the last time I entered a competition at the NEC for the Cake International, I did actually do gladiolus, and as far as I'm aware, I don't know whether anybody did any since, I've never actually seen anybody do gladiolus in the flower arrangements there. I was the only one doing them, and that's why I did it, because I wanted to do something that nobody else had done. And I think I got a silver for that, so I was quite chuffed with that. I managed to get hold of like an urn, and I had the gladiolus arranged in the middle of it. Then round it I had hydrangea heads and some orchids. I can't remember which orchid I did, and something else that I had in the spray as well, because you have to do a certain number of different flowers, and you have to do a minimum of 3 of each. You can do as many as we want over that. But right, now then, the next stage, now that I've made those, we can just keep those to one side for a minute. I'm going to get my pink paste, put that green back in there for now. If you don't want to use the templates and you happen to have rose petal cutters, you can use rose petal cutters for this. They will be a bit wider. Gladioli, like a lot of other flowers, there are a lot of different variations in them, and sometimes the way the petals are arranged are different as well. So it's just a matter of finding what you can use yourself to make them, because as long as the flower looks like the flower you're supposed to be making, then it doesn't really matter. Oops. As I say, unless you're doing a competition, then obviously you have to be more fastidious about what you're doing. But what they're looking for in competitions is realism. When you're doing a cake for somebody or an arrangement or something like that, what you're looking for is it to look like the flower that it's supposed to be. So I've actually used my small Gladiolus cutter for doing these. So first of all, for the small ones, I'll do one of those first. So I want 3 petals for that. And then for the next lot down, I did 5 petals. Now I've got these really thin. Got one missing somewhere. Where is it? One, two, three. Oh, I've only got 4 there. I need to get another one out of that. Hang on. Didn't count enough there. Get one off bottom there. That way. There we are. Now we've got the right number. If you haven't got the veiners, as I said before, I'll do this with these. All you do is get it on the flat of your hand, get your silk veining tool into the centre and roll out in a fan motion, like that. And then get it onto the edge of your finger and then go around the edge. Like that, to frill it. Keeping your silk veining tool at an angle, like that. I'll do that again. Don't forget, if you've got any questions about anything that I'm doing, or any questions at all about anything, about the paste or what you'd like to see, don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section before. I mean, generally when I'm at home, I'm checking the comments a few times a day, so I'll always try and get back to you as soon as I can. If I haven't got back straight away, it's because I haven't been there to do it. But while ever I'm at home, because I'm retired now, so a lot of the time I'm here, apart from when I'm out with the dog. I will get back to you as soon as I can. So you usually don't have long to wait. Definitely the same day, unless by any means of possibility, which is probably not very likely, I'm on holiday, which I don't get these days, but I will always get back to you as soon as I can. Might be different if I come up on the lottery, because I'll be buying a place in the Greek islands, but I'll try and have internet there and still be able to get in touch with you. We have to dream, don't we? Nobody's going to get anywhere if you don't have a dream. That's what I keep telling everybody. No matter how impossible it seems. And I always wanted to have my own business when I was quite young and worked in the fashion business in menswear, where I started. And I always wanted to have my own shop. Did get there once, but it didn't last very long because I didn't have enough money behind me to do it. But you have to remember, if you're setting up in business, you've got lots of overheads, including a wage to get out of it. So you need to make sure that you're pricing your goods accordingly to cover all eventualities. Because if you're not making a profit, there's no point in being in business. I've never made a fortune, but I have managed to keep myself and pay my bills. I have got a video on my channel, if you look through them, on how to price cakes up. So if you want to go and have a look at that, anybody starting up in business, I have got a video there explaining step by step how to do it, which means experimenting by making a cake, a real cake, in the first place in order to be able to do that. You can't crack eggs without breaking a few, as they say. So if you're being serious about it, even if it's doing a cake for somebody in the family or something like that, make sure that you price everything up while you're doing it. And even doing cakes for relatives, as I've heard from some of my students over the years that I've been teaching, you can't do cakes for nothing. Because that is one hell of an expensive present, doing a cake. I mean, some of the top designers these days are charging an absolute fortune for cakes, but you can't say just because you're just starting and you're learning that your cake should be cheaper, because they shouldn't. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get all these petals in. I just want 3 of these for the first section. Get your glue. Go down one side, down to the bottom. Lay your next petal over it, like that. And then just press that down. Then down that side. And lay that petal over that. I'm just going to put the other section together before I do the next stage, just to save a bit of time. Start these here. Just turn those round so they're ready to pick up. Again, down one side with your glue. I'm just going to put that slightly at an angle. Then your next one goes on top of that. Make sure your bottom of your petal is together. You're not fanning that out. Then down the side with that. Oops. Then down the side of that. And the side with that. Right, then get something with a pointed end, either a small cell pin or use your silk veining tool, and then get inside like that and start to roll the first petal, whoops, over. Once you get it started, that's it, and roll it over like that. When you get to that stage, then again go down the side of your petal with some glue like that, and then continue your roll like that till you get it all together like that. You could do that a bit tighter if you wanted to start off with tighter buds further up. I'll just pop that down there for a minute and do this one first. So I'm just going to, before I start rolling it, I'm going to put some glue down that side, then we're all ready when we get to that section. Get your tool in. If you haven't got any, you could use anything like a cocktail stick or anything like that. Get that tucked under and roll it round like that. Bring it right the way around onto the glue bit, take that out, lift that up, and then that goes onto that, like that. You just have to fiddle about with them a little bit. Just pull it in at the bottom, make sure it's nice and tight down there, like that. So that's that one. And I'll just take my dried flowers off of here. And then if you just get your flowers, you have to keep an eye on them when you get this, and then just lay them into your foam like that at an angle, and just keep coming back and just opening them out while they're setting so that they don't close up too much, and then leave those to set to one side. Now, as I say, I've already got all mine already set, but because I did them yesterday, they are still flexible enough to readjust them if they've dried too much. Right, so in order to attach these to your stem, these are going to go in like that. So I'm going to have to make some more bracts as well, because I won't have enough here. So I'm just going to glue those over the bottom part there. If you haven't got these, you can actually use a rose petal cutter and turn it with the pointed side up as well. So what I'm going to do to put that in is I'm going to put that against the wire like that. Then if you get your bract up against that and bring that round onto the wire like that, and then get your other one for the other side and put that facing like that. If you lay it down like that, you can squeeze it round and make sure that's nice and secure, like that. Then we're going to turn it over. We want another 2 bracts. Get another bud further down there, like that. And then your first bract's going to go around like that, onto there. Oops. That's come off. You just have to spend a little bit of time doing this. It might be easier to put your bract around the flower first before you put it onto the wire. That's another way you can do it, like that. Bring that round onto there. Put that down. This one's not playing ball. Then put your other bract on. If you've got something to rest it on, it might be a good idea to do it that way as well. I mean, if you've got time, what you could do is to rest them in between. So once you put a couple in like that, is to leave it and then come back to it, but I haven't got time to do that, so I'm going to have to do all this together in one go. That's going to go down there. You start it off on your flower like that, low enough down, and then onto your wire. And that goes around the other side like that, and bring it round it to hold it in place. I'm just going to turn that over so I can adjust the other side. That's it. It's a bit better. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to leave that to set a bit, and then I'll come back later on and finish that off. Right, for the next stage I'm going to use a rose petal cutter. So I want to, that's the last cutter, that size of the cutter that I use for that. I'm going to use this because these are wider, so to make the flowers more secure, the bracts are going to have to be a bit bigger, so I can wrap them round more securely. So we'll roll some, just get that out of the way, move those up there. Just need to put a bit of white fat on my board again. You don't need a lot every time you do this, just enough so that your paste sticks to the board. There we are, that's better. So I've left those to set a bit. They're not dried properly, but they have set enough so that I can handle them, but I still have to be a little bit careful with them. If you can leave them for 24 hours in between, that's much better, if you can. But when you're making a video like this, I don't have that luxury of time. Oops. So I'm going to cut out another 3. Yeah, I've cut 4 out there, so I've overdone it a little bit, but never mind. Now I'm not going to bother folding the corn husk over. I'm just going to do one side. It's the outside that you want to see anyway. So just put them on. Make sure that the point is going towards your narrowest part of your husk. I'm turning them over so the sticky side that's got the fat on it is the side that I'm going to glue. There we are. So that's those 3. For this job it doesn't matter so much about thinning your edges when you get down to here. Because if you've got your paste thin enough, it should be okay. Probably have to put some more glue on there in a bit, because it does have a tendency to soak into your paste with this flexible flour paste. So get a flour, tuck that round it like that, and then stretch it round that way. Then let's lift that up slightly so I can wrap that round like that. Right the way round. I'm going to leave it flat on here while I do this. I should have cut some more pieces out, but I'll just re-glue that one. That goes around the bottom of there, and then onto your wire. Then bring that over like that, and then glue that one. And that goes round the other side like that. Bring that up and over, back over, and tuck that right round like that. That should secure your flowers in place, so I just need to cut another couple of pieces. I know this is a bit boring watching all these, but you have to do this in real time, otherwise it's not going to work. You can't do, I mean I can do it and leave it in between. It just take me a lot longer to do the video. But of course, particularly for anybody learning, it's a good idea to see things in real time. Just cut another two out. That's it. And now, if you, rather than picking it up and putting it onto your corn husk, you can just do it while it's flat on the board if you want, because we're only doing one side. Whoops, that's stuck to it. There we are. That's another way of doing it. At least that way you've got it the right way up, so you know to turn it over to put your glue on. So that's just two different ways. It's up to you, whichever is easier for you when you're doing it. You know, I mean, we all learn by experimenting. And quite often when I do flowers again, sometimes I'll do it a different way. So that goes on to there, like that. Right the way around. That into there, like that, and bring it round. That's not going to be very secure because there isn't enough to hold it in place until you put your second bract on, which is going to be lower down. So if I just lift that up and slide that over like that, and bring that over and round. So that's to that stage. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave that now to set fully before I go on to the next stage, because with the next ones I need to be able to tape them on. So I'm just going to put that to one side. And we're going to go back to the actual flowers now and put those together. Get all my bits and pieces over. So I need to sort out which sizes are which. That's same as that, that's same as that. And that. And that. Then I've got my narrow ones. Whoops. 3, 4. That's the other one. Now the reason I'm doing 2 flowers is because I'm going to do each one slightly differently. One more open and then one slightly less open. Still got the same number of petals, but I'm going to get hold of them. There should be another one there somewhere. What have we done with it? Seem to have... oh, it's there. Dropped underneath my tape. There we are. Got it. So, we need the centres, which I should have 2 of those. Where have I put the other one? So, to go with that, then I want my stamens. So you've got 5 stamens per flower. So I've got my stamens there. So I'm going to get some 1/4 inch tape here. Now I'm just going to bring my camera up so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to start around about just over 1 inch from the top there, and put my stamens in. You need to make sure you get these all at the same level. So I'm bringing them up to just underneath the spadix there. That's the 5 stamens in. And then I'm going to tape down. Just down to the base of the where you put the stamens in. And then if you just open those out a little bit. As I keep explaining, like a lily, these are more like an umbrella spoke. So that's the centre of your flower. So then I need to start my tape off at the same level where I've just put those stamens in. And you can start by putting your small petals in first. You just bend them back slightly. So that's one in. If you go around a couple of times with your first one when you put it in, just to make sure it stays put. And then your third one. Just pull your wires down to make sure those are all securely in, and then tape down. I'm not taping right to the bottom, but like I keep saying to people, a lot of people think, well, why do you use so much tape? It's so that your petals stay where they are, and you've got something for your next set of petals to grip to as well, because this tape is quite sticky. So now this is where you need to sort of concentrate on how you put your petals in. So if I get the other flower that I've already done, so that's the top part of your flower here. Sorry, that's the top part of your flower here. These two wider petals need to go sort of fairly close to each other. So, yeah. So they go in sort of more or less behind those two petals there. No, I've got the wrong one there. It's the wide ones I want into. These sort of cross over, so when you put your second wide one in, that wants to cross over with that one. So get those taped in. And then your next wide one is going to go a bit like an orchid. That's going to go in there. So it's in between those two there. Like that. So your inner petal is sort of more or less over that one. Just go around again. Make sure those are nice and tight in. Make sure nothing's moving about. And then your two narrow ones then go in at the side here. Hang on, got that wrong way around, have I? Yeah, I have. Got that back to front. Then if you look at your flower and see how it goes, just to make sure you're happy with it, pull your wires in, make sure they're all nice and tight in. Then you can tape down. Right down to the bottom. Now you can play about with it now to see how you want it to be. So if you want that one is going to go at the bottom, that's a mostly open one. If you want, with this one, you could tighten that up a little bit and make that slightly more closed. Bring all your petals up. So that's a little bit more, less open than that one. We'll put that to one side. And then we'll go on to the third flower. You notice I'm putting 3 of each stage into the flower, keeping it at odd numbers. Right, I just need to find my centre, which I seem to have lost for some reason. done with it? Round about just over an inch from the top there, and put my stamens in. I need to make sure you get these all at the same level, so I'm bringing them up to just underneath the spadix there. That's the 5 stamens in. And then I'm going to tape down. Just down to the base of the where you put the stamens in. And then if you just open those out a little bit. As I keep explaining, like a lily, these are more like an umbrella spoke. So that's the centre of your flower. So then I need to start my tape off at the same level where I've just put those stamens in. And you can start by putting your small petals in first. You just bend them back slightly. So that's one in. If you go around a couple of times with your first one when you put it in, just to make sure it stays put. And then your third one. Just pull your wires down to make sure those are all securely in. And then tape down. I'm not taping right to the bottom, but like I keep saying to people, a lot of people think, well, why do you use so much tape? It's so that your petals stay where they are, and you've got something for your next set of petals to grip to as well, because this tape is quite sticky. So now this is where you need to sort of concentrate on how you put your petals in. So if I get the other flower that I've already done, so that's the top part of your flower here. Sorry, that's the top part of your flower here. These two wider petals need to go sort of fairly close to each other. So, yeah. So they go in sort of more or less behind those two petals there. No, I've got the wrong one there. It's the wide ones I want into. These sort of cross over, so when you put your second wide one in, that wants to cross over with that one. So get those taped in. And then your next wide one is going to go a bit like an orchid. That's going to go in there. So it's in between those two there. Like that. So inner petal is sort of more or less over that one. Just go around again. Make sure those are nice and tight in. Make sure nothing's moving about. And then your two narrow ones then go in at the side here. Hang on, got that wrong way around, have I? Yeah, I have. Got that back to front. Then if you look at your flower and see how it goes, just to make sure you're happy with it, pull your wires in, make sure they're all nice and tight in. Then you can tape down. Right down to the bottom. Now you can play about with it now to see how you want it to be. So if you want that one is going to go at the bottom, that's a mostly open one. If you want, with this one, you could tighten that up a little bit and make that slightly more closed. Bring all your petals up. So that's a little bit more, less open than that one. We'll put that to one side. And then we'll go on to the third flower. You notice I'm putting 3 of each stage into the flower, keeping it at odd numbers. Right, I just need to find my centre, which I seem to have lost for some reason. What have I done with it? Right, sorry about that. I had to go off because I had lost my centre. Found it now, so we can now add the rest of the stamens into this one. It's what happens when you've got so many things going off. Instead of doing one thing at a time, I end up with loads of bits and pieces from different things. Right, so I'm taped down with the stamens now. That's those in. Bring those out. Now this one's going to be more closed. In fact, I can probably bring those stamens up a little bit more than I did before. So I'm going to put these in without bending them back this time. It's going to be more of a closed up flower. At this stage it doesn't matter concentrating on where your petals are going, because they're going in a 3. It's when you start putting your next layer of petals in is when you need to concentrate on it. So I'm going to tape down a bit. There we are. Then go back in underneath those petals there. Just make sure those are straight in that way. That's it. So again, 2 of your wide petals are going to go in more or less behind those 2 there. That's going to cross over. Oops, dropped it. Pull that back in. That goes round there. That's it. Done it again. Start again. Don't let go like I've just done. Do as I say, not as I do. That's what my mother would have said. Bring them in a bit. Goes in there like that. That's it. That's better. Like I keep saying, I don't switch the camera off and redo it like some people do, because if things go wrong, you need to see where it's gone wrong and how to put it right, because if it happens to you, you won't know what we did. That's it. Then the last one goes in there. Got my tape twisted round there. Just straighten that out. That's it. Then the 2 narrow ones can go in. And then tape down. If it twists round, just stop and just gently go in and straighten your tape up. And right down to the bottom. There we are. So you can just go back into it, and then you can play around with your petals once you've got everything together. And reshape your petals if you need to. And bring that up a little bit more so that that's a bit more closed in. So now we've got 3 stages of flowers. We've got the open one, part open and more closed. So I'm going to put those to one side, and I'm going to let these now dry, because I need to colour these as well. But I need them to be really set before I start messing about with that. So we'll come back when those have dried, and then I'll put in the rest of the flowers into the spray then. See you in a bit. Right everybody, I'm back again. I've got my first part of my gladiolus dried now. So what I'm going to do now is, before I go any further, I'm going to colour the top part of my gladioli. So I'm going to use another colour here that I'm going to add into the mix, which is spring green. And I'm going to colour the flowers that I've already put on there. So, I'll get my other colours out first. Make sure you keep your lids with the correct colour. I've sometimes got in the habit of getting the wrong lid on. Whether it's me or somebody else that's used my colours when I've been teaching is a different thing, but there we are. Right, so I'm just going to carefully colour these in, add a bit more depth to the flowers, get in between. It's mainly at the top of your petals where you want to get the colour, because they do change colour as they open, so they're probably not going to start off with the same as your full flowers. This is why it's always a good idea, if you can get hold of a real one, and sort of mimic what you see. I know the first time I did these, when I did these for competition, I actually had some gladioli in a vase sat in front of me while I was making them, to try and get as accurate as I could, but that was for a competition. This is not competition work, this is for either your enjoyment or for your cake decorating or whatever else you're going to use it for. If you were going to do it for a competition, then you would spend a lot more time on it and make sure that everything is absolutely perfect. Right, I'm going to go in between with these now, get inside the flowers. Just talk amongst yourselves while I'm doing this. I know that's ridiculous, but I mean, you should be concentrating on what I'm doing, shouldn't you? Right, last one. Right, we'll get rid of that brush now and go on to the deep red, and we just want to give a little bit of colour to the edge of the petals. You don't have to go too mad with it, because flowers tend to deepen as they open. So it's just to get a hint of the colour of the full flower. I didn't do the backs on those at the bottom, but I will come back to those shortly. Just want to get these done at the top. Most of the colour you'll see on the outside with these, because they're not as open as the ones lower down. Just go inside with this, sorry, outside. When you get to this stage, you can now see how your flower is taking shape. Right, there we are, that's that colour. So the next thing we need to do is to add the green now. And I want to do this before I started adding any more flowers into it. Because it just makes it easier for the dusting part if you do it while you can get into the nooks and crannies without affecting the rest of your flower. So I'm just going to get a new piece of kitchen roll out here. In fact, I think I can get rid of that now because I don't need that anymore now. And get rid of these two colours. Get rid of that. And start off with a clean piece now. So start from your top and dust down. Might be a good idea to do one side as you go along and work your way down, then turn it over. Whichever is the easiest way for you to do it. There's no wrong way. It's the right way for you. And it don't matter if you miss little bits and you leave a bit of the colour underneath, because like I keep saying, nothing is perfect in nature. And if you get a little bit on your flower, don't worry too much about that, because you do get a little bit of green sometimes showing up on the flowers. The advantage with this paste being flexible is that you can move things around, as I did a bit while I was dusting the flowers. And turn it over and we'll do the other side. Once you've done that, you can check around all your different areas to make sure that you've got all your areas covered. It's just that it's a bit easier if you've got something to rest it on whilst you're doing this. check down your sides when you've done that, just to make sure that you've got everything. There we are, so that's that bit done. So I'm just going to put my top on that, then I can get on to the next part. Let's move that out of the way. Right, so what we need now to do is to start attaching the flowers. So I've got one here that I've closed up, so it's fairly just at that stage. So what you want now is you want full width tape for this, because these are heavier, so they're going to need something a little bit stronger to hold them in place. So if you start your tape off around the bottom on that, and then I'm just going to, where's my pliers? Won't be a second till I just go get my pliers. Right, so I'm just going to bend this a bit forward, like that, just to give it a little bit of a movement. Hang on. Let's get that in the right way. And go around with that very carefully. We need to just get it started. You can always readjust your flower once you've got it in. So I'm going to tape down away just to make sure that stays put. Now you can get back in very carefully and just bring that out a little bit. And you can readjust your petals once you've got that in place. So I'm just going to go slightly to that side, because that's where, that's on that side, that's on that side, so we're back to this side. So what we need to do now is I need to cut out some more bracts to go underneath these, although that you're not probably not going to see them very well. I still put them in. Just bear with me a second while I just wipe my top here. I've got a bit of dust on there. That's it. I only need to cut 3 out because these are the last 3 bracts on this particular plant. So again, I'm using the large rose petal cutter. So I'll cut 3 of those out. 1, 2, 3. I've done these slightly thicker so they hold the flowers in place, but if you've taped it in tightly, like which I have done with that one, they should stay in place anyway. So just get my corn husk, put that onto there like that, and give that a good press. And same with the other two. You don't need the veining on the inside because you can't see inside these anyway once these are on. So you only need it on the outside. I mean, if you're using a veiner, then they are double-sided, so that wouldn't matter. But it's the outside that's more important because that's what's going to be seen. Right, so turn that over. And glue that all over. Then that's going to go underneath the flower there. And it's going to wrap right the way around. Bring it round the other side. Like that. So that's in there. Like that. That's nice and firm. Now what you could do if you wanted to is to dust these, but I'm just going to, in fact I'm going to dust it while it's there before I put the next flower in, then it saves me getting green all over my other flowers. Just take your time with these steps. There we are, that's the first one in. Just move that slightly to one side. And then we get the next flower, which is this one here. And I'm going to bend that one out. If you notice that the back of the flower is these two petals that cross over here. So they need to go up against the stem. So once we've done that, if we get your tape, that's the sticky side. So I'll turn that over and start that off directly underneath that bract that you just put on. Like that. And then your next flower goes in slightly to that side. Just start that tape off around there like that. And then you can tape it in as tight as you can get it. And tape down away. Then you get your next bract. Glue the back of it. Then that's going to go in on this side here, like that. I forgot to thin my edges on here, but if you're doing it, if you thin your edges before you put them in, just with it being, the paste being slightly thicker than previously, I've made it so that I can stretch that round. So I can take that under and that's going to overlap it there, like that. Just smooth it all down. And the thing is, like cold porcelain, you can smooth this out and stretch it a bit more. There we are. That wants to come a bit further around so you can spin that round a bit. There we are. It's better. Just undo that. Bring that round and re-overlap that. Make sure that's nice and tight into your stem, like that. And then we can dust that one. Right, so once that's in, get your tape again. That's the sticky side. Again, start it off just underneath that bract you've just put in. Make sure it's securely on. Now the next flower, I'm going to bend out, which is the back. That's the back. Just bend that out a little bit like that. And then that one's going to go in there, like that. And I can tape right down to the bottom this time, now that I've got all my flowers in. So then you can sort of play about with it just to get it how you want it to be. Here's me. Get your pliers in and just move that around. There we are. That's better. And then the last bract wants to go in behind there. So powder out of the way while I get this in. You don't have any more bracts further down because they're where your flowers are coming from, and this is the bottom flower, so that's where your last bract's going to go in. Bring that round there, and then bring that round and overlap it. There. Just make sure that you just work it in to the stem below there. Bring the colour back. And where's my powder? There. I just need a little bit more powder on my board, just a tiny bit. That's it. Dust that bract. And then if you just continue down your stem, just to make sure that your stem matches in with the rest, just carry on dusting down there. I'm just going to get hold of that piece that I've just dusted and dust down there. I mean, you probably won't see that in an arrangement, but just in case any of it can be seen, it's a good idea to fill your colour in. So, there we are. We have a gladiolus. Oh, just get the top on this and get rid of this from underneath. Put my paste away. So there we are, that's my Gladiolus. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you're going to have a go as well. Leave me a message in the comments below, let me know how you've got on with it. And if you've got any questions about anything, then please do get in touch and let me know. And you can go to my website to get the templates for these, which is terrificcakedesign.uk. And don't forget, if you've got any suggestions about anything you'd like to see me do, even if it's something I've never done before, I'll find a way of doing it. So get in touch and let me know. And look forward to seeing you all in the next video. So take care, stay safe.